Hey, all, welcome to my channel. Here's where I see it so far. The Mets lost 7 in a row, pretty much. Swept by the Guardians, swept by the Brewers. I've said basically in my live as well as my prior videos as well too, saying that the Mets got swept by the Brewers. They're probably not going to go far in the playoffs if they make the playoffs. That is because like the way the Reds are playing, Mets might not have a shot. Basically, this this next series against the Braves is going to be an interesting one to see. If the Mets can't take 2 out of 3 from the Braves, then it's going to be a problem because, quite honestly, this is a team the Mets should be able to beat, considering that Acuna is injured. And the fact is, it's like they're going against Strider. Now, granted, it's Clay Holmes, and he might not get past the fourth inning as well too. But let's be honest, Strider has a 4.0 ERA or 4 point plus. Peterson against Carrasco. Now, Carrasco, of course, being a former Met from last year, he might just go all out. He might actually take some issue playing against the Mets and maybe just might go the full 8 innings and like shut him out. I don't know. It's a possibility. But Carrasco's ERA is 6+, whereas Peterson is just under 3. Now, of course, Peterson, he might be able to go the full 7 to 8 innings and might give the bullpen a rest. Because quite honestly, Holmes, what's going to happen is Holmes is going to be playing. When Holmes plays, the bullpen is going to be used. So it's hoping that Peterson can actually keep the bullpen at bay, because the next game after that will be Senga pitching. And, of course, Senga going against Elders. Senga still under 3, of course, but he hasn't gotten past the fourth inning, basically, as fifth inning for that matter, too. Whereas they'll be going against Bryce Elder, who has a 6+ ERA. So the Mets, theoretically against the Braves, they should be able to sweep the Braves. But let's be honest, the way the Mets are playing right now, I doubt that's going to happen. But they should take 2 out of 3 from them at least. They should be able to take 2 out of 3. Problem is, right after the Braves, they play against a very hot team as well too, which is the Mariners. The Mets most likely will get swept, considering that Montas will be the pitcher, first opening pitcher for the against the Mariners, and they're going against Logan Evans, doing pretty decent as well too. Then Manaea comes up. If Manaea can't get past the fourth inning as well too, going against Wu, I don't see the Mets offense doing really well against Wu. Now, Clay Holmes again will be back up again against Kirby. Kirby having a 4 ERA. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But if the Mets can actually, take 2 out of 3 from the Braves and take 2 out of 3 from Seattle, maybe that'll definitely give them a shot in the playoffs. That'll get them into, keep the Reds at bay at least for sure. They'll keep the Reds at bay for sure. Problem is it's not going to help them out to overtake the Phillies unless the Phillies go in a massive. I would love to see this. I'll be honest. I would love to see this. By end of September, the Mets start winning and they overtake the Phillies for first place in the East. Payback would be a bitch against that. I would love to see that. And when I'm talking about payback, not from 2 years ago because that was the Braves, but more so with the what's their names? Or 3 years ago, actually. Sorry, it was with the Phillies from 2007, 2008. I know I hate to say that, but that's pretty much what I'm looking at. 2007, 2008. I'm sorry, 2007, 2008. I'd love to see the Mets do what the Phillies did to them back then, those 2 years where they collapsed, unfortunately. Of course, those were Willie Randolph teams. But in any case, I would love to see the Mets do that. But will that happen or not? I don't know. But the real question comes down to this: the Mets need to actually, let me see where they are actually in the situation in regards to the next set of teams they're playing. Sorry, I gotta look and see what when the Mets are playing. Scores. Okay, here we go. Schedule. Come on. Sorry, my internet's running a little slow. Maybe, I don't know. So go against the Braves, then the Mariners, then they go against the Nationals. So in theory, the match should be and then they go against the Braves again. So in theory, 3, 6, 9. in theory, now again, in theory, the Mets should be able to go on a 12-0 winning streak at this point. They should be able to sweep the Braves, sweep the Mariners, sweep the Nationals, and sweep the Braves again. Because in that stretch from basically tomorrow till August 24th, they're going against the Braves, the Mariners, then the Nationals, then the Braves again. They should be able to get at least 10 out of 12 for sure. 12 for I'm hoping, but 10 out of 12, maybe 9 out of 12. They should get 9 out of 12 games from the teams that they're playing. Of course, after that, then they'll go against the Phillies, a 3-game series against the Phillies. If the Mets go on a 12-game winning streak and they win 2 out of 3 against the Phillies, that will help them out in the long run. And then, of course, then they go against the Marlins, 4 games against the Marlins right after the Phillies. If the Mets can take out the Marlins, it'll be just the Tigers and Reds, and that's when everything starts picking up at that point, quite honestly, because at that point, they'll be going against the Marlins, then the Tigers, which they should be able to win. The Reds, we saw what happened last time, so hopefully, revenge game, basically. And then they'll have a 4-game series against the Phillies. That 4-game game against the Phillies, if the Mets are 5 games still out, or at least 4 games out, that should help the Mets in the long term. Then, of course, they go against the Rangers, a pretty decently hot Rangers team. And, of course, the Padres is definitely hot and definitely dangerous. And then the Nationals again. And at that point, so at the end, they do play the Marlins, final 3 games against the Marlins. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But like I said, if the Mets can't take 2 out of 3 against the Braves and take 2 out of 3 against the Mariners and 2 out of 3 out of the Nationals, it's going to be a big problem at that point. Oh, quite honestly, if they can't sweep the Braves, if they can't sweep the Mariners, well, they won't be able to take 2 out of 3 from the Mariners. I'm sorry about that. That's my fault. Not 12-game winning streak. I should never have said 12-game winning streak, because the problem is going against the Mariners. I forgot the Mariners are red hot after I said it earlier today. For some reason, I saw Braves, Mariners, Nationals, Braves. I'm like, oh, yes, we got a sweet schedule. But the reality is the Mets should be able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like I said, 9 out of 12. If they get 9 out of 12, I can see the Mets not winning a game against the Mariners. They probably will get swept by the Mariners. Maybe they should be able to get maybe 1. If they get 10 out of 12, that'd be great. But if they get 9 out of 12, that'll be putting them in a sweet spot at that point. Quite honestly, 6-game winning streak after the Mariners game, going into the Phillies, if they can get a 6-game winning streak going, that works out really well for them at that point. But time will tell. Let's see how that works. Let me know your thoughts. I know people are going to say, it's like, hey, well, you got to believe. I mean, look, I'll believe. I'm a Mets fan. But you got to be, being a Mets fan, we're realistic. I mean, we're always hoping, we're always praying, but we're being realistic every now and then as well, too. But quite honestly, it'll be interesting to see how it works out with not only McClain and Sprout going in the minors, but now Tong has been elevated to the AAA as well, too, as well as bench. But it'll be interesting to see how Tong works out, because Tong is actually being lights out. He was lights out in AA. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in AAA. If he does really well in AAA, I hate to say this, but like, come early September, if they do really well, if he does really well in AAA, come September, I wouldn't mind seeing McClown, Sprout, and Tong being promoted to the majors. I mean, granted, I would love these 3 to be to see him in the opening day roster next spring, but we're in desperation here. If Combs, Minea, and Senga can't get out of the 4th inning, and they are giving up runs. Because let's be honest, Montez, he's done. So you might as well just dump him back into the bullpen. Same thing with Minea as well too. You might have to switch him off to the bullpen as well too. Because McGill, when he comes back, chances are he may or may not do it. And Blackburn, forget about him. He's pretty much done at this point as well too. And let's be honest, he's not worth it. And the fact is like Peterson's probably the only highlight of the team, but he's only getting past up to the 6th inning. The man needs to eat up some innings, unfortunately, to give the bullpen some rest. Minea, I hate to say this, but he might have to go into the bullpen as well, too. And then you might have to, designate some players back down to the minors. Hate to say this, but maybe Vientos, maybe Batty, one of those 2. It's looking more and more like Stearns should have traded Vientos and Batty for some prospects, or at least some, pitchers, starting pitching. Because, quite honestly, we know that Vientos was being asked. Mets were shopping around a little bit, but not as much. But teams were asking for Vientos. Similarly, I think the teams were asking for Batty as well too. I don't know why Stearns would keep him on board. The only thing I can think of is he has a fear that maybe Alonso may not resign, and so he can use Vientos and or Batty as the first baseman at that point as well too. But only time will tell. Again, let me know your thoughts. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.